All right, Ryan, great to have you back, man. Always great to have you contributing to our audience. Let's go right to this. This is some stuff you understand. Customer-centric marketing. What does that mean, and what does it look like?
Sure, it's probably easier to describe it by saying what it isn't. And in the past, really, businesses define themselves by either the product or service that they sold, right? So I'm an electrician, I'm a carpenter, I'm an investment banker, right? Or they defined themselves by the brand, right? So we're Coca-Cola, and we identify by the brand. So those are kind of the two worlds, right? You're either a product-centric company, you're a brand-centric company. But really, the trend and where this has been headed for a while is customer centricity. Businesses beginning to define themselves not by the product they sell or the service they deliver, but by the people that they serve. And it was Jeff Bezos who put this in, very eloquently. He said the singular mission of Amazon is to become the most customer-centric company in the world. I think you do worse than to follow the lead of Amazon. So yeah, everything's shifting, away from this is what I sell to, this is who I serve, and we want to serve them well.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit more, because that's a wonderful description there. But let's just think of the mom and pop retailers, the small businessman and woman listening in right now, and they're going, okay, how do I first of all, how do I change that? Almost not so much fundamentally, but conceptually. Okay, wait a second. I'm in the electrical business, or I'm a plumber, or I'm selling cakes or bakery, whatever it is. Okay.
Right.
And they're going, well, this is what I've always done. This is what I'm known for. How do I make the mind shift necessary, and then the brand and the marketing shift to make it about my customers? What does that look like? Give me an example.
Sure. So it has less to do with completely upending your business model, right? And more to do with tweaking how you go about talking about your business. So I'll give you an example. Here where I live in Austin, Texas, there's a shoe store. And what they realized is that they were really selling a lot of kids' shoes, because a lot of grown-ups, they know the size of their shoe. They know the size of their foot, right? They're beginning to order those online, and the shoe store was getting really nervous. How are we going to compete against Zappos and the internet, right? When it comes to this, and what they found was that their sweet spot was kids, because kids' feet are always changing. You want to have them try stuff on, and so they really. They were still the same store, but they began advertising proactively to parents of kids, and they did this through working with children's book authors and bringing them into a book signing. Like, what does a children's book, or having a children's book, have anything to do with shoes, right? But they brought them into this place, and the kids showed up to do the book signing, the book reading, and some of them left with shoes. And when the parents were there, the parents bought some shoes too. So it's less about completely changing what you do and more about repositioning and speaking to a specific market. And it's not like you necessarily just have to pick one, but the key to out-Amazoning Amazon, in my experience, most businesses are really freaked out about Amazon. I think appropriately so. They are eating retail and other major businesses and whole categories alive. The way that you compete with Amazon is you out-love them. And how do you out-love them? You serve a very specific niche in a very specific and meaningful way to them that Amazon would never be able to do. Amazon is never going to host a children's author, right, in their warehouse. And so that's just kind of one, that's kind of one example. Thinking less about, it's not so much about what I saw. How do we build community? Right? How do we build real, long-lasting community? I believe community is the new brand. Even more important than having a brand, it's about building that community. So that's kind of one creative idea.
Yeah, I really like that. I love that you throw a word out there, community, that sometimes in business we think community, it's just some outreach and it makes us look good. You're not talking about that. This is about building that tribal passion where people run into each other and they connect to each other around the actual brand, the service, the product that they all seemingly love.
Yeah, and there's a great litmus test for this, right? If your business were to go out of business, would you be missed?
Yeah, that's right.
And if the answer is no, then you should be very, very, very concerned. But if you're out there advocating, and this applies again to brick and mortar in a local area, but it also applies, online. A digital marketer, my company, we have a rabid community of over 10,000 people sharing experiences, talking, serving one another, helping one another within a Facebook group. right? So the tactics are the same, right? It's, when it comes to, I should say the strategy is the same, whether it's deployed by, I'm going to have a children's book author come to our kids, to our shoe store, or I'm going to really begin to build a true community inside of a Facebook group, right? Where community takes place, now we have options, and that's great. But it doesn't change the strategy, and it doesn't change the critical nature of building community. I truly believe that the word brand and the word community, they're almost going to become inseparable in the next few years. The idea of like, oh, I recognize that logo, that's not going to be enough to establish a brand. You have to build community, and you've built community if you were gone, you would be missed. Yes. People would miss that community.
That's good. Okay, so giving us some really good, I think, practical thoughts here that we need to be really figuring out, okay, how do we now plug this in? But I want you to just be stark. Let's just lay it out here for a moment. If people miss out on this and they go, this is good advice, this guy Ryan's pretty sharp, he obviously knows what he's talking about, but things are fine. This is 2018 and this train is moving. What happens to the business who does not take heed of what you've told us?
I think what's tragic is somebody who probably isn't as good as you are at doing the thing that you do is going to come along and they're going to beat you, not because they're better at delivering the product or the service that you deliver, but because they're better at communicating in this new way and in this new medium. I'll give you another just very tactical example. Chat. Conversational marketing, right? This idea that retailers and service-based companies have always been good at. The phone rings, they pick it up, they know how to talk to prospects and answer the questions. And yet when it comes to the web, they don't know how to do that. And we now have tools like Facebook Messenger, right? There's chat apps out there like Drift.com. Again, no association or affiliation, but there are these chat tools that when somebody arrives at your website, you have the ability to engage with them in real live online conversation. And we have to remember that today there are people falling in love and proposing marriage to folks that they've never really even met in some cases in real life. Now we can mock that, but that's the reality. That is the new world that we live in. And the people who are growing up in this world, who, they may not be as good at you are in terms of like, installing a toilet or, running a new, dropping a new line in somebody's house, but they're really great at conversational marketing. They're comfortable with these modern tools. And if you're not careful, they're going to come out and they're going to win, not because they're better, but because they are loving your customers in a way that you aren't. So I think that's the stakes.
Good stuff, Ryan. You're always on top of what's happening, and we appreciate you giving us some really practical wisdom. Appreciate how you're a friend to the Entre tribe here in our offices, and then you're a great friend to our broader audience because you always deliver value when you hang out with us. So look forward to having you back on again, and we're better for hanging out with you.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.